Real quick, I just want to get into a couple conversations I have while I'm on the trail. First conversation, I'll put the timestamp up here so you can jump to it if you want. We talk about a recent video with the Fittest Man on Earth and Cameron Haynes, and I use that as a great example as to why you need to be well-rounded when it comes to fitness, meaning having both cardiovascular endurance and strength. And then second conversation is talking about some of the body positivity type stuff and the benefits of exercising over getting into those GLP-1s, which again, I'll put the timestamp up here. All right, we just got back out to Mount Laguna. We are at the Big Laguna Lake Loop. This is a trail that we've done before. I think we've even done a video on this one before. In fact, I know we've done a video on this one before because I explained how we're not at the actual trailhead. We are at a little cross section of the trail here. It's an area that you could park that is much less crowded than the trailhead. The actual trailhead for this, or the parking lot, is the Noble Canyon trailhead, which is a big time I'm gonna lean on here for a minute, which is a big time mountain bike trail, so not ideal for running with a dog on. And then the trail gets super crowded, so better off just coming here where at the current time there's nobody else, and we can get ready in peace. But haven't been getting many sunrises up here lately because of the later sunrise. Oh man, it might be almost time for some new trail running shoes. These guys are starting to come apart. I've had them for a couple years, so expected. But yeah, as we get closer to spring, not necessarily upon spring yet, but obviously the sun is coming up earlier and earlier, so haven't been up here for a sunrise in a bit. But this loop is going to be about 11 miles, so we should be looking, I don't know, I guess around 2 hours or so, depending on how many times I stop and turn around to take cool video. Here, let's bring you down lower with me. Excuse me. And then it's about 1,100 feet in elevation gain. It's a pretty nice loop. The way we're starting it, we'll start off looking over the desert, which is a typical view for our Saturday trail runs. And then we'll dip into the woods for half of the loop and then end up back here at the truck after our 11 miles are complete. But I'm going to finish getting ready here, and then we'll see you on the trail. I don't know how much of my body you saw while I was talking there, but at least you heard me. All right, we're a mile in now. Heart rate's a little elevated, like 140, so nothing too crazy, but just taking a minute to get adjusted outside the truck, likely partly due to missing last Saturday. Also, as I've gone through these powerlifting type programs, I've put on a little bit of weight, so there's no shine around that. But nothing too crazy. Again, just in the 130s and 140s. Also, a little bit of back tightness, lower back tightness. Again, likely due to the fact that I went pretty hard on the lower back this week with some heavier squats, and then even more so on Thursday, which, was only 2 days ago, so right in the sweet spot for recovery soreness. Did 5 sets of 2 deadlifts, ranging from 415 to 435, so it's taxed. Needless to say, so expected to have a little bit of back tightness, which I have not experienced in a long time. But 1 mile in, we got great views of the mile mark. Looks beautiful behind me, but out there on the valley, it's a perfect morning. I think it's going to warm up, especially as we get down there. Although down there, once we get on that part of the trail, is covered, has a good amount of shade because of the trees down there. All right, we have almost 2 different environments on this trail: desert mountains and in the woods, which is cool. We get tons of different scenery. But we're a mile in, which means 10-ish to go. As my saying always goes, we're not out here breaking records. We're just out here being healthy, having fun, letting Dale enjoy the wilderness as wild dogs should. Not that he's wild, he's about as domesticated as it gets. But we'll check back in at mile 2. Oh, there you go, dude. These views never get old. Never get old. That sun in that valley is any indication as to how the rest of this day is going to shape up. It's going to be a beautiful day up here in the mountains. I think I saw highs in the 60s, but I feel like when they say highs in the 60s and you got the sun out like this, you easily poke up into the 70s, no problem. Not a cloud in the sky. Beautiful morning. So far, I've run into 1 person on the trail. We're not at a mile marker now, but I figure I'll ramble on a little bit. But we'll check back in at the mile marker. All right, so we're at the 3 mile mark now. The first few miles always take a little bit longer to get knocked out because I do a lot of back and forth to try to get some cool looking video. So the first few miles are much less a test of my cardiovascular endurance. Well, right out of the truck, there's no getting around that. You're required to have that cardiovascular endurance. But the first few miles are more a test of my patience, just because I keep going back and forth trying to get some cool looking videos. As you can probably tell, it's just me out here. So I'm the cameraman and the exerciser all at once. And honestly, it's probably a bigger test of Dale's patience, which is a little payback because when we do our road runs or bike trail runs, he very much loves to test my patience by stopping to sniff every single thing on the trail, and we're on leash when we do those, so I stop with him. Sometimes run into his caboose. But the miles, the pace picks up as we get further into it, as the light kind of shifts over from that pretty morning light to the regular daytime light, and I'm satisfied with the cool video footage. But so that's why I don't really track my pace too much at all on these runs whatsoever, because I know that it's not super accurate. That being said, we're done with his water break. One of these days I'm going to get him to learn how to drink out of this nozzle. We tried for about 2 minutes earlier, and he just thinks I'm attacking him with water and not trying to help him by giving him water. And that's a wrap for 3 miles. We'll see you at 4 miles. All right, that's 4 miles. We are at our start point of our run from 2 weeks ago. I'm not going to say much at the 4 mile mark because we do have a pretty busy street crossing coming up that I got to get Dale across. And then a lot to say when we get to the 5 mile mark. We talk for a while, may even take us all the way to the 6 mile mark. So that'll be it for the 4 mile mark. We'll see you for a nice long chat at the 5 mile mark. We're at 5 miles now. I'm going to wait just a bit longer before I get into that conversation that I promised you, just because I want to get across this highway safely with Dale before
I get distracted by talking. But we'll see you just after we cross the highway. All right, I think we have a decently flat stretch here that I can chat for a little bit. Of course, I got to catch my breath now because I just found a neat spot to do a quick back and forth for a cool video. I'm not coming off as sounding cool right now at all. But so yeah, just a quick chat, and I think a interesting chat because I think it sort of gets into why it's important to have that balance that we talked about at the beginning of this run, and that I really talk about all the time. And this just kind of gives proof to it and some credence to what I preach and what I practice. But what I'm referencing is a recent video with the Fittest Man on Earth. It's, I think, his most recent YouTube video, but depending on when you watch this, may not be anymore, in which he goes and does the Lift, Run, Shoot podcast with Cameron Haynes. So if you know anything with Cameron Haynes, his strengths are strong endurance running. The man's a beast. So, you know, Jason Hopper shows up to do the Lift, Run, Shoot podcast, and immediately after meeting up with Cam Haynes explains to him what the workout's going to be. And of course, it plays to Cam's strengths, which are running and running up mountains, which is completely different than just running. It burns everything, especially your lungs and your legs. And so, looking at Jason Hopper, you'd think, wow, this man, I mean, I don't know his numbers, but I know he benches, deadlifts, and squats far more weight than I can, and more than your average man. And then, you know, he also does all the Olympic lifting, and of course he's, you know, the king of CrossFit right now. So what is that? That's all high intensity training, which I know CrossFit's kind of fallen off a little bit, been replaced with the likes of High Rocks and just gym chains that kind of preach the same message, the high intensity training, but have their own programs that aren't necessarily the WOD programs. I'm at a split in the trail here. Let me just verify that I'm going left, which I'm 99% sure I am. Yeah, so he shows up, Cameron Haynes explains to him the workout, and it's all running. It's running uphill. So at first glance, you'd think, oh, there's no way that this man that deadlifts all this weight, benches all this weight, squats all this weight, and just a big dude is going to keep up with Cameron Haynes. But what does CrossFit preach? And that's high intensity training, right? So very, very heavy on your cardiovascular system. Yes, you're getting stronger and you're lifting weight, but you are making that heart pump, and it is just getting stronger and stronger. I imagine the typical CrossFitter's resting heart rate has to be in the 40s. I mean, mine's in the 40s, and I'm a humble man. I'm not trying to brag about my resting heart rate. Not that that's something to brag about, but mine's in the 40s, and I would argue that I don't quite hit that intensity that your standard, have been doing it for a while, CrossFitters hit. So you imagine his resting heart rate's in the 40s, and that has tons of other added benefits. We could get into that some other time, that nice strong resting heart rate. But that being said, he kept up with Cameron Haynes. I mean, there's not video of him actually doing the run and being on Cam Haynes' heels the entire time, and Cam Haynes is a beast in his own right, so I can't imagine he was, you know, on his heels the entire run. But he finished the workout. When he showed up, you know, he was told, hey, we're going to run 18 miles. Most of it is going to be up these mountains, and it involves carrying a 70-pound rock up a mile and a half, up 1,000 feet in about a mile and a half. So again, just testing your strength and your overall cardiovascular fitness. So all that to say, he isn't necessarily training for mountain running and trail running, but because of the high intensity training that he's doing, he's able to still do that rather impressively. Again, not at Cam Haynes speed. I mean, that guy's a monster, but still able to keep up. And then, you know, if you were to drag Cam Hanes in the gym with him, which they did some bench press reps, which Cam knocked out some impressive numbers. I think 225 for 5, which is not weak at all. And then I think Jason Hopper got 17 or something like that. But getting back to the cardio part of it, so he shows up right out of the car, goes straight up a mountain. I don't know how long that run was, but it was long. And if you've ever done mountain running, you know how it feels when you come right out of the car straight up a mountain, and how that lactic acid just builds up in your legs and everything hurts and your lungs are burning and you're gasping for air. But if you've built your body to be ready for something like that, you push through it. You push through that initial super hard part in the beginning, and then eventually your heart rate comes back down a little bit. You get warmed up, your blood starts flowing, and you stop gasping for air so much, and you can get through it. And you just did something super hard, but you were prepared for it, and you got through it, and you got stronger because of it. And then, they do a road run, and I think that gets them up to about a half marathon or so. And the final challenge before ending the runs is carrying a 70-pound boulder, at least 1,000 feet of elevation gain in a mile and a half. And he ends up doing it in 27 minutes, which is super impressive, because that is bringing in strength, cardiovascular endurance, and then obviously tons and tons of mental fortitude that can only be built up by putting yourself through hard things. The high intensity training, lifting weights, and running. So I do a little bit different. I don't do CrossFit. I lift heavy weights, and then I run every single day. And I've gotten more into like a tempo pace every day rather than some of the anaerobic type stuff I used to do. But still, I'm able to come out here and do these runs comfortably. I stop a lot to take video and to give Dale water, which I owe him water here shortly. As soon as I wrap up this portion of the video, I'm going to get him his water. And it all pays off. In the summer, I go up to the Sierras all the time. And while, yes, more muscle mass does equal more required intake of oxygen, because those muscles require a ton of oxygen, especially when you're up there at those altitudes, and oxygen is much less than it is down here at sea level. But because of all the high intensity training I'm doing, I'm able to push through it and see those awesome views on top of those mountains and feel healthy and really just enjoy life. So that's a long version of saying you have to have that perfect balance of pushing your cardiovascular system while also pushing your strength needs. And that gives you a nice, well-rounded, healthy human being that'll feel good and live long, barring any unforeseen circumstances. And I'll see you in about a half mile. We just passed 7 miles, so we got 4-ish miles left to go. Cruising along. Hope you like that last discussion. Maybe I'll do a quick intro about it in the beginning and give you a timestamp to skip to, so that you don't have to listen to all my other rambling before we get into that discussion. Well, I think what I'm talking about is interesting. Of course I do, though, because I'm the one talking about it. But with 4 miles left, it's a little ways to go. I'm a little fatigued right now. Dale seems fine, but we will keep on pushing. See you back soon. Oh, all right, we're just past 8 miles. Dark in here. We've had a couple distractions on the trail recently, so pace has slowed down quite a bit. Plus just this gradual incline as we draw nearer to the end. A little bit tired, but whatever. Still having a good time out here, and it's all about this guy anyway, as long as he's having fun. And that's all that really matters. As he runs through the dark and eerie woods. All right. But we're done with almost 8.25 miles. We're going to end up with probably more than 11, so I can't accurately say how much is left, but probably 5K-ish or less left. our normal weekly run. See you at 9. All right, mile 9. It was actually pleasantly surprising. I thought it was 8, but we just did 8. So 2 miles-ish to the truck. And I just want to get another topic. As you notice, this is kind of slowed down to a hike, which I think it's in large part due to how dang hungry I am, which I feared I would have had plenty of calories in me because I had a giant burrito and a ton of chips last night at dinner, and then had a muffin and coffee on the drive up this morning. But feel a little calorie depleted here, which is fine. We'll push through these last 2 miles, get home, and then either have my typical bagels and eggs at this point for lunch at this rate, or I do have some bananas I gotta get rid of, so maybe I'll have some banana pancakes. But that's not the topic I wanted to get onto. Topic I wanted to get onto is related to what we talked about a little bit earlier, and how in the video with Jason Hopper and Cameron Haynes, what I notice on videos like that though is people hop on there and they kind of talk trash to, especially ultra runners. I feel like they catch a lot of the heat, and it's always about, oh, your knees are going to be wrecked and blah 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 blah. And Cameron Haynes addresses that in the video. I don't think he addresses a specific hater, but just says, I think the question's asked, like, how are your knees after all that running? Says my knees are great, right? And there's another ultra runner that's pretty popular in the space named Andrew Glaze, and I think he gets more hate than anybody. He runs 100 miles every week for years now. I think like 4 years the streak has gone on, and everybody's always just trashing him, like, oh, your knees are gonna be horrible when you're 90. But I never hear him complain about knee pain, except for maybe he's on like mile 90 of 100 and just talks about a little bit of soreness, which is expected. So all of that is a lesson, right? That leads into, I think recently, a 90-year-old man just completed a marathon somewhere in his 90s. So it just goes to show you, for all the people that are like, oh man, your knees are going to be done when you're 90 years old. I'm assuming that wasn't that man's first marathon. He's probably got a lot of miles under him, and there he is still running marathons on those knees at 90 years old. And why I talk about this is because when I ventured into the fitness influencing space, which I guess is, if I'm being honest, what you could say this is, I kind of, always just wanted to not be the jump down your throat life coach type of guy that says, oh, you're fat, you're pathetic, your wife hates you, your kids hate you. I don't think any of that's true, and if it is, that's for you to deal with and not for me to figure out how to fix. But more so just kind of giving my insight on my experiences that I've had through 6 years of training myself. And so this is going to be a little bit more of the jump down your throat type stuff. It's kind of for the people that just sit on their couch, say, oh, your knees are going to be wrecked. You're going to hurt yourself deadlifting that much weight, whatever the case may be. I recommend, that comes mostly from the body positivity crowd, right? And the body positivity narrative, and I know this ventures into politicizing things. You could come to your own conclusions as far as which side is which here, but I'm not going to get into politics. But what I am going to say is the body positivity narrative kind of went out the window when GLP-1s hit the market. And you saw people start getting super skinny. They get, I think it's called Ozempic face. They get skinny, but not healthy. So that tells me that people don't necessarily enjoy being fat. And I can't imagine that it feels good, because I know how good I feel after I work out in the mornings, and I know how bad I feel in the mornings I don't work out. So I've never ever worked out. Those mornings gotta be rough. So I encourage you, if you're sitting there on your couch and you're telling someone how bad their knees are gonna be because they're out running trails, and maybe there's a little bit of jealousy in you, where they're out deadlifting weight that you can't even dream of. Maybe get up off the couch. Consider for a second that a pill that was built for people with diabetes, a chronic and potentially deadly disease, may not be the right answer to getting healthy. Get out and exercise, right? Because if you use something, it's going to get stronger. That's not me reaching out there for some sort of hidden certification or degree that I don't have. That's just common knowledge. It's been out there forever. Use it and it'll get stronger. Don't use it and it atrophies. You become sedentary, or you're sedentary your whole life, your muscles are going to atrophy. It's not healthy for you. You're going to stand up and fall down, and you're going to have no protection. You're going to have undense bones, and you're not going to live a fulfilling, healthy, fun life like you would should you get out there and do some physical activity. So I'm always happy to help. If you do want to get into fitness whatsoever, just reach out to me, and I'll help you get on the right track. I'll share my experiences even more than I already do. But that was mile 9. I'm really slow to a crawl here. I'm following this fire hose, which I don't think you could see. There was definitely some remnants of a fire back there, about a quarter mile or so. Once again, don't know if it was controlled or wild, but it's no longer burning, so not a problem. I'll see you at mile 10. All right, there's 10 miles. Funny enough, the laps are exactly one ahead of the mile. So my 11th lap, I talked last run video about how if I don't get my workouts that Garmin gives me done in a prescribed amount of time, the laps get off from the miles. But right now, lap 11 is married up at mile 10. So we just hit mile 10. There's about a mile-ish left, kind of mostly downhill off this mountain, cross the highway again, and then we're at the truck. And that'll be 11 point something miles. I'll tell you exactly how many miles as soon as we get to the truck. And I see the road now, and we'll be seeing the truck here shortly. See you back at the truck. All right, so unfortunately I'm wrapping this one up in the truck as well, just like last week, but a good run. I recorded it on my watch as a treadmill run, so I don't think I got credit for all the miles. It showed me at 10.3, whereas all trails was just over 11. And I think we did it in like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. Whatever, as I always say, not breaking any records. But this next part of the video will be the second time you hear this part of the video, because I'm going to do a quick overview of a couple conversations I had on the trail. So if you're hearing this for the second time, I apologize. And real quick, I just want to get into a couple conversations I had while I'm on the trail. First conversation, I'll put the timestamp up here so you can jump to it if you want. We talk about a recent video with the Fittest Man on Earth and Cameron Haynes, and I use that as a great example as to why you need to be well-rounded when it comes to fitness, meaning having both cardiovascular endurance and strength. And then second conversation is talking about some of the body positivity type stuff and the benefits of exercising over getting into those GLP-1s, which again, I'll put the timestamp up here. Sorry for those that just heard that part twice, but another beautiful run up here in Mount Laguna on a Saturday. We're driving home now. We got what we wanted to get done. And it's gonna look weird in Strava because it was saved as a treadmill run, so I won't have that cool topographical feature that Strava uses. But whatever, I know what I did. I got to do what I want to do / need to do. You could kind of view this as a need as well. And then now I'm going back. I'm gonna feel great as I do the things that I need to do today, meaning the chores that I got to knock out. For example, pulling weeds is one of them. And then I'm sure I got a couple other things on the list. But I'll put this video together. I also talked last week about how I am doing a little bit more of a cinematic video for the 8-week strength building review video, which I'm well into right now, and will hopefully finish up
to get posted tonight so that it doesn't get trampled by the Super Bowl tomorrow. But we'll see what happens. That's a wrap. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. And if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. We'll see you later.